Hello world, welcome to the 243rd climate change emergency protest here in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. It is July 19th, 2023. Next week will be the 244th climate change emergency protest, and that'll be on July 28th, 2023. And right now I'm standing near the transportation center downtown Gettysburg. This is an empty lot, probably looks to be about 2, 3, 4 acres, I don't know. But what they're going to do is put in a 5-story building on this side, a 5-story building on that side, and a 7-story building in the middle. And the question comes to be is, why are they doing this? Well, they want more money and more population, without regards to how it affects the downtown and traffic in the area and everything like that. And the question is, why am I talking about this? Well, the thought process is all screwed up here, everywhere in the United States, many places around the world. They see a commodification of this thing rather than putting in a park, making it a tourist attraction, making it better for nature and society, a better living environment. But we can't do that. And that's the title of my talk is, As the World Burns. As the world burns, the leader of the world play their divisive, it's totally divisive, and deceptive fiddles, doing nothing and saying nothing and doing bad things concerning nature and the environment. The corporations right now around the world, and especially here in the United States, are engaged in a murder of 8 billion people, the whole population of the earth, with their fossil fuel agenda. They constantly line the pockets of the government officials with their quid pro quo. So the money goes to the federal government officials, especially with the fossil fuel industry, and in return, the government officials, by getting the money, then use it for campaigns and just their own personal use, I guess. And it ends up being a revolving door, whereas the politicians then give the fossil fuel industry subsidies, and they also give them tax breaks, as they're happening here. These are tax breaks going on here for this place. Evidently something with the tax breaks. They don't have to pay taxes for 10 years or something. And then they also write laws, to their benefit for the corporations. There is no thought as to nature and surviving the next 3 years, 2 years, the way we're going, or even 10 years, the way we're headed worldwide. I'm going to talk about it in a second. So as the world burns, those protesting against corrupt systems and the death sentence with abrupt global scorching are thrown in jail. Worldwide, they're throwing people in jail. Roger Helms is a good example in England, as is Gail Bradbrook. Those two are in jail for protesting and trying to save the lives of billions of people, and they get thrown in jail. Meanwhile, the owners of the corporations and the fossil fuel industry walk around scot-free and have a blank check to kill whoever they want, basically the whole world, with the gunk that they're throwing in the atmosphere that was part of the previous 5 extinctions. Carbon dioxide in the atmosphere creates a greenhouse effect, wipes out the whole life on Earth. We start all over again. So the world has, in the last 16 days, in July, the last 16 days in July, worldwide, have been the 16 warmest days in the history of humanity, the last 125,000 years. All right, so do you understand this? The last 16 days have been the warmest days in the last 125,000 years. This is the path we're on. We're on a death march right now, and no one seems to care as to where we're headed. It's kind of a weird thing going on, and I don't understand it. So as the world burns, the jet stream slows down. Things are warming up. There, especially in the Arctic and Antarctic, there's less of a difference between the equatorial region and the polar regions in temperature. So the jet stream becomes more and more wavy because there's less thrust of wind change, temperature gradient between the north and the mid-latitudes. So the jet stream slows down. That leads to a situation where you get heat domes that stay. So the United States has had a heat dome for the last 2 months, I think it is. There's one in Europe. There's one over Asia right now. And God forbid that they ever connect up with each other, because then it's a permanent heat dome. And at that point, when it does happen, we're pretty well screwed as life on Earth. So, as the world burns, the permafrost thaws. It's the permafrost up in the frozen regions, Scandinavia, the Arctic regions, things like that. Within that is methane, nitrous oxide, carbon dioxide, unlimited amounts. And what's going to happen is that's going to be runaway greenhouse heating of the atmosphere. You have more gases in the atmosphere. Sun comes in, beats down on the Earth, and then the heat does not escape into space. The balance is upset at that point. And it is happening now. That's what's going on right now, is that there's excessive amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and we're going in the wrong direction. We're putting more and more in the atmosphere every day, every minute, every second. And this is the price you pay, is when the world starts heating up at an unprecedented rate that humans have never seen before. Also, the Amazon's hitting a tipping point that it's soon to become, eventually trees can no longer support each other. They no longer give off moisture and cause the daily rain events. So the trees die, it becomes a savanna because of its location, and eventually a desert, in my opinion. It's a horrible situation. The oceans are the hottest ever. The Gulf of Mexico right now, down near Florida and Louisiana and all, the Florida Keys, the temperature in the water there is 96 degrees. That'll kill off most coral reefs probably within about 3 weeks. It is also ripe for hurricanes. We're lucky right now that we're approaching an El Nino, or in the beginning of an El Nino phase, in that it wind shears off the top of the hurricanes and causes turbulence up in the atmosphere, and the hurricanes don't get a chance to form. But eventually, we're going to run into a situation this summer or fall where the wind shear doesn't happen, and the hurricane develops off of Florida and then the Gulf of Mexico, and it blows up to a category 4, if not 5 or 6. And these are city enders if this happens. Many insurance companies have bailed out of California and Florida because they can no longer pay for all the disasters that's happening right now. This is an indication that things are spinning out of control. So as the world burns, the Earth permanently leaves the Goldilocks zone. Right now, we have been in a Goldilocks zone for humanity and life on Earth, and that it's been fairly temperate. You know, you get your aberrations in temperatures, highs and lows, but it's been fairly temperate. But now we're forcing ourselves, the Goldilocks zone is in between Mars and Earth as far as the distance from the sun and everything warming up. But now we're leaving the Goldilocks zone. We're pushing ourselves into a zone that's hotter and hotter and hotter, and it's unsustainable. We can't keep going this way. The CO2 equivalency, only 280 parts per million is safe, not 350. And the equivalency of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is over 600 parts per million if you count methane, nitrous oxide. It's probably way more than 600. So as the world burns, can we stop this trajectory? Will politicians of the world even talk about it? Much less do anything about it. I seriously doubt it. I don't think the politicians are going to do anything. I don't think they're going to give lip service every 4 years when they run for re-election, like it's a big thing, and the things they're doing are horrendous. So as the world burns, will the voters realize the horrible mistake they have made and continue to make by giving these politicians their blind allegiance and vote? These politicians, especially here in the United States, both parties have leaders, and the parties, not the individuals, okay? The parties are engaged in policies that are going to kill us. The Biden administration, well, we know what Trump did, okay? He authorized all sorts of baby drill stuff, as did Obama before him. Crazy stuff. If you want, go to Obama bragging in Oklahoma about his drilling. But now Joe Biden's in charge, and his administration, and he's authorized Willow Project in Alaska, which will be 600 million barrels of oil. He's authorized 2,600 drilling permits in the first 2 years of his office, which is more than Trump. He authorized 2 auctions in the Gulf of Mexico for more drilling, and he authorized Line 3 to continue on in the Midwest, coming down in the United States from the Alberta tar sands, which is the worst oil ever. And then the other thing is the Mountain Valley Pipeline, which goes from West Virginia down to North Carolina, brings methane, propane, methane, whatever you want to call it, natural gas. And that's nothing but a total obnoxious greenhouse gas that we're doing. So this administration now is not helping us. In fact, they're hell-bent on killing us with their policies. I'm not saying the guy's an evil monster, which I have my own opinion on that, but the voters need to realize they're being duped. Okay, this is a shell game they're playing. They act like they're on your side, then they do horrible things. The Democrats tend to allow their party to do things underhandedly and not pay attention to them when they're in office, and horrible things are getting done just as bad as Republicans. And when the Republicans are in office, the spotlight's on them through the media, and they can't make a move without getting it publicized, but they continue on. They don't care. They do what they want to do. So it doesn't matter either way. It's a death sentence voting for either of these two parties right now. I know I'm offending you individuals, but you got to realize we cannot survive this. The reason why we're in this situation, with the Earth being the 16 hottest days in the history of the Earth, is because these two parties and parties around the globe that are engaged in these type of policies. This is an example where level-headed thinking would go, we're in big trouble. We need green spaces around this whole city right here. And it's not happening. In fact, anything, they're tearing down more and more stuff. If you go in the peripheral of the town, there's a gas station being put up east of town, ripped down a whole forest. There's storage spaces west of town being put up, ripped down a whole forest. So it's terrible policies that are happening. There's a massive amount of housing development going on north of town and northwest of town. Crazy amounts. I mean, thousands of people coming in. This area can't handle it. The United States can't handle it. The planet can't handle this constant growth and growth and growth. That's called a cancer, and we're way past overshoot. We need several Earths now to try to keep up with the amount of resources we're using up. So as the world burns, will the voters care? Do they care? I mean, I don't know. It doesn't seem like people care. They think there's some sort of party that's going to keep going on. Everything's going to keep going. Daddy will take care of us. He'll fix it. They'll get some sort of technology. This is it. Earth has been giving us the warning shot. Now Earth is sick of us and is trying to get rid of us. And the sooner you realize that, the more you can do constructive thought process, identify the problem, and move on from there. So will we continue to attack those who speak the truth and saying we need to get off this situation of self-indulgence, this unengaged path of connection to nature? They're unhinged. There's no connection to nature anymore. So this is a non-sustainable life path we're on right now. This trail we're on right now has to be gotten off immediately, and we can't continue on this path. It needs to stop immediately. So these things are examples of this. If anyone had any brains, they would stop this immediately and go, this is not the right idea. Another couple hundred people in this town is not needed. I don't care what your tax base is. If your tax base is too high, what's going on that you can't pay your taxes, stop with the expenditures. We need a park here, not another high rise and more and more housing. And this is going on in your area as well. It's the same thing. Someone needs to put the brakes on and just stop everything altogether. But that's unpopular. You know, I'm not part of the crowd. I'm not part of the clicky click. There's groups in here I publish on and nobody says anything. And that's their fault. It's not my fault. It's not me, it's you. You know, when people break up, they go, oh no, it's not you, it's me. No. It is not me. It is what is going on in this town and around the whole world that people don't recognize the terrible situation we're in at this moment. So I'll catch you next week as the world burns.